Great to be here. Nick Wright coming up today. Joy Taylor is joining me. So, psychologists and therapists agree that sometimes you shouldn't bottle stuff up. Got to have people you can talk to and express your frustration. It's a real thing. My wife is my sounding board. The dogs don't talk. My son doesn't want to hear it. My daughter's pretty good. Sometimes I complain to Joy. But you got to have a sounding board. Everybody needs a sounding board. In fact, I have joked for years with my agent. I have one of those. So does Joy. We sort of have to. If you watch people that are very dramatic in our business, they're often single and no kids, and they go home and they're the sun in their orbit. Very interesting situation in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is now backtracking a little. I don't know if I'd call it that specifically, but it reminds me of kind of a cartoon. You know, the cartoon where somebody lights a fuse and it slowly gets close to the dynamite, and everybody tries to put it out before it gets to the dynamite, and boom, boom, kaboom. And Aaron Rodgers, after the game, lights a fuse with some comments, and it's getting close to the dynamite. Now everybody, the GM and the CEO and Aaron Rodgers are trying to put it out before it explodes into something. Here was Aaron Rodgers on Pat McAfee's show yesterday.
Now, obviously, after the season that I had and, potentially win an MVP, and, we obviously made it another good run. I don't think that there's any reason why I wouldn't be back. But, look, I think there's not many absolutes, as you guys know, in this business. So to make an absolute statement about something that is not an absolute, just I didn't do it, and I guess that's why I went kind of nuts.
I don't think he was nuts. I think he needs a sounding board. Listen, star quarterbacks' words have power. This is why Russell Wilson, despite the fact, and I can tell you this from knowledge, he's very frustrated. But when you ask him about it, he says nice things about Pete Carroll, followed by, go Hawks. It's why Tom Brady has spent 20 years boring us, and before that, Eli Manning spent 15 years doing the same. Star quarterbacks' words have power. But Russell Wilson and Eli Manning and Tom Brady can lean on people at home as sounding boards. They have tight-knit families, maybe adult children. Aaron's single in the smallest town in American sports. He's got no kids. From what I read, not particularly close with his family. Is it possible we are Aaron's sounding board? The media. It's not healthy to bottle this stuff up. Where's Aaron supposed to go? Yes, I'm defending Aaron Rodgers today. Where do you go? I go to my wife. My daughter's in her 20s. So you got to go somewhere if you're frustrated. Where do you go? Aaron's a smart guy. He's the sun in his orbit, as all of us are. When we're not married, single, not sure if he has pets, not particularly from what I read tight with his family. Got to go somewhere. Got to express frustration somewhere. I don't think Aaron was nuts. Maybe he was just, as he always says he is, human. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Well, I'm single with no kids, but I would suggest a really strong group chat, Aaron.
Well, also, I would say you have very strong relationships inside your family.
Yeah, yes. But on a day-to-day basis, like if I'm frustrated, I vent in the group chat. It's very, very helpful. I do go to my family for the bigger decisions. So Matthew Stafford and the Lions agreed to part ways this offseason, and teams have reportedly already started reaching out to Detroit about what it would take to acquire him. Mm-hmm. Lions are said to be looking for fair market value for Stafford.
What is fair market value? Second-round pick?
I don't know. He's the franchise leader in every major passing category.
That's Detroit. I mean, like what's? I'm going to ask you. You're GM. What would you give up?
It depends on the team. So, like, if I'm the Colts, I would be willing to part ways with a first-round pick.
That's fair. That feels to me a first-round pick for Matt Stafford feels very fair. And if you could throw in, since you have a lot of good players and we don't have any, a first-round pick and give us a starter somewhere for Matt Stafford. That feels fair. Colts have
a first-round pick and a starter and maybe another player or later round pick feels fair.
Yeah.
I know people are going to feel like that sounds dramatic and like a lot, but he's a franchise quarterback, and the Colts need that. I mean, you saw what Phillip Rivers was doing, throwing the ball like this in the playoffs. Like, I don't know where the Colts would be right now if they had a mobile quarterback and someone who could actually push the ball down the field.
Listen, if I'm Chris Ballard and I get Matt Stafford an upgrade at quarterback, I've got to give up more than a first-round pick. If I'm Detroit and I'm like, he's even kind of cost-efficient at this point. It's not an egregious contract. I'm giving you a starter. I'm giving you a guy that can win a Super Bowl with.
Detroit has what, the 9th pick right now? Where are they? I think if I'm Detroit, I want Indianapolis's first-round pick and some starter. They have a 7th pick in the draft.
So that Detroit they're going to take a quarterback with that. So Detroit's going to take a quarterback with a 7th pick. So
another first-round pick from the Colts.
And another first-round pick from the Colts. And give me a player. It could be a right guard. Just not Quentin Nelson, but give me a guard. Give me your second corner. Give me a starter for my team.
See, so for them, I feel like that's worth it because they are ready to win right now. See someone like
Detroit would have 2 first-round picks and a starting player. And a lot of cap space now.
The thing about Stafford is, I'm really we know Detroit isn't a complete and utter rebuild, right?
Right.
They're starting over again. I'm sorry to Lions fans, and I don't know how this is going to go. I don't really have high hopes, if I'm being honest, but we'll see. I am so interested to see what Stafford does with another team.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly talking about Stafford like he just can't quite reach his potential in Detroit. Is it the organization? Have they not been able to put pieces around him? He doesn't really have that signature win. But he's in his 12th season. Age doesn't even matter in the NFL anymore.
Right.
He can certainly pass the ball. He has 2 years remaining on his contract. I just want to see what he does somewhere else.
Yeah, so do I. A lot of this stuff, this is NBA stuff. Harden with KD. I watched the first 3 games. I want to see how it works. You can tell very early. KD and Harden works. You can win the East with those two if you get some defense. Stafford with New England, you'll be able to tell by the end of September. This is something.
Stafford in New England, I don't know because that's, albeit obviously a more than functional organization, and wouldn't compare that to what's been going on in Detroit. But they don't have any pieces.
Right.
So him going somewhere like even Washington or the Colts.
Ask yourself this: New England gets Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida, and Stafford. Now all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's interesting. Big upgrade at quarterback, a throwing quarterback in a pocket system, a star tight end, like the best tight end in college I've seen in years.
I feel like that would be it's definitely an upgrade from what they have this year. But the AFC East is different now.
It is.
It's a different world. So the Chiefs were missing Le'Veon Bell out with a knee injury and Sammy Watkins out with a calf injury in the AFC title game. The Bucs were also without their 2 top players Sunday. Antonio Brown missed the game with a knee injury, and Antoine Winfield Jr. sat out with an ankle injury. All 4 are expected to be back and be ready to play in the Super Bowl. The Bucs' other starting safety, Jordan Whitehead, left Sunday's win with a shoulder injury. He had an MRI on Monday, but it's too soon to tell if he will be able to play in the Super Bowl.
Isn't this amazing, Joy? 17 weeks, 16 games, playoff games. Each team will be missing maybe Kansas City's going to be missing 2 offensive linemen and maybe a safety. So of all the 90 players on these rosters, you got a couple serious injuries. I've said this before, not only getting through COVID, but the NFL's done a really good job in the last 4 or 5 years in safety measures.
Yeah.
You don't see the egregious hits anymore. If you start looking at all these teams down the stretch, now Seattle fell apart last year at running back, but by and large, almost all of them were missing maybe a starter and had another one that was a game-time decision. It's real. The league.
Well, I think the league rehab teams are kind of realizing, like, once you get a couple years in the league and you don't need to learn how to play your position, you don't have to push them as hard.
That's right. Lighten up.
Yeah, medical advancements, obviously, getting guys back out there. I mean, the fact that Patrick Mahomes was able to look like he did with his injury on top of coming out of concussion protocol was remarkable.
Yeah.
So it'll be a nice 2 weeks off for both these teams. And to your point, we're really lucky that they're mostly healthy. So we'll get a pretty solid game from both sides. So the Seahawks are hiring Rams passing game coordinator Shane Waldron to be their new offensive coordinator. He spent the last 4 seasons with the Rams after following Sean McVay to LA from Washington. He has 7 years of experience in the league, but has not called plays during his time as an NFL assistant. He's actually, there's a lot of guys leaving the Rams, which is kind of
well, it is. You do get to a point where this is New England and the Rams. When you have, where do people leave? Andy Reid, Belichick, and McVay. Some of it's just like,
well, yeah, other organizations.
with some comments, and it's getting close to the dynamite. Now everybody, the GM and the CEO and Aaron Rodgers are trying to put it out before it explodes into something. Here was Aaron Rodgers on Pat McAfee's show yesterday.
Now, obviously, after the season that I had and, potentially win an MVP, and, we obviously made it another good run, I don't think that there's any reason why I wouldn't be back. But, look, I think there's not many absolute